everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of Down the Hobbit Hole. Today is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2017. My name is Emily, and this is my weekly podcast about knitting and spinning and all things making. So I am coming to you today from East Tennessee, where I live with my husband, my fluffy dog, my very pudgy cat, and our goofy chickens. So, if you'd like to find us online, you can find me on Instagram as MistyMountMakers. You can find me on Ravelry as MistyMountMakers, and you can find the Ravelry group in the Groups tab for Down the Hobbit Hole. And for Down the Hobbit Hole, as Down the Hobbit Hole. And you can also email me at emily@mistymountainmakers.com. And links to all of that will be down below, so you don't have to catch that all at once. But yeah, I think we should move along now. So just a couple things before we get into the knitting. This is the last week of the There and Back Again KAL, or at least the final mileage portion. We finished the KAL. Prizes were announced 2 weeks ago, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. And we have just the last portion, which is the final mileage, where everyone's posting how far they got into Middle Earth based on the mileage that they tracked during the KAL. So if you haven't posted already, definitely head over there. We definitely had more entries for the KAL than the kind of move along portion of it. But if you tracked your mileage, be sure to get in there and post where you got to. We've just got a few days left. I'm going to close the thread. I was going to do it on Wednesday, but I'm going to give it until Thursday night, and probably Friday morning I'll close the thread. And we don't have too many entries, so odds are good if you get in there and put it in there that you'll be... If you go in there and post, we don't have that many entries, so there's a good chance you would win one of the prizes. So definitely head over there and post if you did track. If you head over to the Ravelry group to check that out, we also have 2 other threads going at the moment. And these are just for fun. They're not part of any kind of KAL or anything like that. But one that we've been doing is talking about the different podcasts that we really like. And someone posted, her name's Lisa. She posted over 20 podcasts that she really likes. And I think I knew about maybe 5 of them. And I'd only ever watched, I think, one of them. 1 or 2. And so I have lots of podcasts now that I need to go through and check out over time to see if I've got any new podcasts to watch or any new podcasts that I really want to subscribe to. And Debbie posted as well. She put her favorite one in there, so definitely head in there, post your favorite podcast so that other people can find the ones that you love, and maybe you'll find a new podcast too while you're over there. And the other thread we've got going is we're talking about different funny things that have happened while knitting in public, silly questions that we get from people, or like really sweet moments that may have happened. Like I know a lot of times, especially since we moved to Tennessee, older gentlemen will see me knitting and it'll kind of spark their memory about when they were kids and their mother's knitting and the click of the needles and things like that. So that's always really nice, hearing things like that. So if you've got, funny story or just something nice that happened, or if you find a meme, definitely just anything along those lines, definitely post it. It's been fun so far, so hopefully we'll get some more posts over there. But definitely join the group if you haven't already. And now it's time for the knitting. So let's see. You guys may have noticed I'm working on my snowfall sweater, and that is by, there we go, Jessie Ostermiller, and this was in Knit Scene, winter 2015 issue. But here it is. And you guys have seen this before. It's with 2 colors of Cascade 220 that are discontinued. So I'm just striping in 1 color every 3rd row. And it's coming along really quickly. I was at 9.5 inches before I started recording. Okay, I'm at 9.5 inches now. So, there we go. Still working along on this. I need to get to 15 inches so that I can separate for the back and the front, because there's going to be, oh, there we go. There's going to be color work. So, and I'll show you what it looks like. I've shown it before, but for anyone who's new, this is what it looks like. So you've got the nice creamy top, and I'm going to be using white as well. And I'm just working my way up the body, and then it'll split, and I'll do the little snowflake details. So I'm really pretty pleased. I will need to try it on before I split, just to make sure that it's long enough. I think when I get to about 12 inches, I'll try it on, because I am pretty short. I'm 5'2", so we'll have to see. I don't want it to be too long on me. So I'll probably try it on when I get to about 12 inches and see where I'm at. But no real rush on this. No big deadline or anything. So this is just kind of my sitting around the house knitting. But yeah, it's very squishy and very nice. And I'm knitting this on my Knitter's Pride interchangeables. And I think it's on a US size 5. Yeah, it's on a US size 5. Another one that I've been working on that has seen a lot of love this week are my sock blank socks. So I showed you guys last week, and this is what I'm knitting it out of. This is just a sock blank that I've been using when I'm dyeing to test speckles, wipe off my spoons, and just like wipe down the table when I spill dye, or if I've been speckling, because dye powder will get everywhere. Anywhere it can get, it will. So I've been knitting from this, and I love it. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. So it's got lots of different colors, and the speckles are just, I don't know how well that's coming through. I might have to take photos and insert them here, or I might leave it. We'll see. But the speckles are so tiny. If you see like that teeny tiny little pink one, it's only half a stitch. I'm so happy with the way it turned out. And this little stitch marker here is where I was last week. So coming along really well. I think that if you've ever knit with self-striping, people say, with self-striping you're super motivated because, just one more stripe, and you just keep knitting. That's kind of how I feel about this, but I don't know what the next little bit's going to look like because it's so different from the sock blank. So here's what we have right now, and this is what it's coming from. So I really like it. And because I've been using this kind of as a rag, the colors don't always seep all the way through. It's much lighter on the inside as opposed to the front. So let me see if I can show you on the yarn. That's what's creating those really fine speckles. So even though you're going through a really dark section, right behind that stitch, like the back loop of that stitch, doesn't have as much dye. So, oh, it's so pretty. I can't wait for these to be socks. I'm probably going to go a little higher on the leg because I mentioned this last week, I think. Since Tim and I have been working out, my calves have slimmed down a bit. So I'm wanting taller socks for the winter. And I tried to cast on... somehow, I don't remember how much I was trying to cast on. I think I said I cast on 66 last week. I actually cast on 64. Yeah. And I'm using a US size 1, 2.5 millimeter, and they're Hayas on the 9-inch circulars, and it's going really well. It's a little harder to knit with these without looking, because you do kind of have to turn and pull things around a little bit, but it's much easier than Magic Loop, or at least it's less fussy than Magic Loop for me. When I just want something really portable and quick. But starting out the cuff was kind of miserable. So I don't know, this might be my new method for making socks. Might not. We'll just have to see how things go. But, yes. And this is an 80-20 blend of superwash superwash wool and nylon. On the topic of feet, which is where you put your socks, I think it was 2 podcasts ago, I mentioned that the chickens keep trying to peck my toes because of the sparkly nail polish. And I mentioned that I'm trying not to bite my nails. I left that a bit vague. I didn't mean to. I don't bite my toenails. I bite my fingernails. So I'm trying to stop doing that. So I'm using, it's OPI. They have a liquid sand nail polish. So I think it's just lots and lots of glitter, but it feels like you're biting on an emery board if I try to bite my nails. So it's really, really helped. A few of them have, last week I chipped off all the nail polish and didn't put any new nail polish on, so I'm down 2 nails. They got chipped and then I picked at them and I bit my nails, but it's going pretty well. But I just wanted to point out, I don't bite my toenails. So, clarification made. Thank you. And you guys have... On to the next project. I did not finish my flax, but there's a pretty good reason for it. So when I separated for the sleeves, which I finished this sleeve, except for the cuff, I was trying to get the other sleeve finished, so I made sure I had enough brown. So if I needed to, I could end with white ribbing. But I was trying to knit this at church, and service was about to start, so I was kind of rushing, and I needed to get I needed to separate the sleeves, and then I could just start working stockinette for the body. So I did, and I was moving really fast, and I did fine with this sleeve, but yeah, not so fine with this sleeve. There are, I don't know how many stitches, let's see, 8 or 10 stitches that were supposed to be for the sleeves that I put into the body. So I have to go back and pick up the stitches under the yoke, and well, what I'm going to try to do is pick up stitches in a way that I can keep this sleeve. I don't want to redo the sleeve, but yeah, I have to rip out the body and redo it. It's so tiny, I should be able to do it. I'm just so disappointed because I was so pleased with myself, and I put it in timeout. I was so upset. Like, not so upset, but it was just one of those things. It was such a small mistake, and now I have to undo all of it, so not a problem. It'll get done. The baby's not here yet, and the baby's not going to wear this until December anyways. So I'll just have to undo that and put it back together. Shouldn't take me too long, though. It was a really quick knit, and honestly, I think this may be my go-to whenever somebody's having a baby. Just whip up a flax. So, oh, and that is Flax by Tin Can Knits. It's in the 0 to 6 month size. in Cascade 220 Superwash, and I think I did it on US size 7s with US size 6 for the ribbing. Really great pattern. Totally recommend it. You should definitely check it out, and it's free. So, you know, you don't have anything to lose. Definitely check it out. Now the last thing I'm going to show you guys is, or at least for knitting, the last thing for knitting is the Mina Phillip for Knitting Expat. She has her mystery knit along. So if you haven't started knitting already, definitely look away. I'll put a timestamp over here somewhere to tell you where to skip ahead to. But I've already started mine, and I have finished clue 1. So once again, last chance, pause the video, skip ahead to whatever timestamp I have floating around over here, and for everyone else, I'll show you what I'm making. Okay, so for this pattern, now I will say I went ahead and changed something right at the beginning that I shouldn't have. It was stupid. So, not to give anything away, but most shawls start this way. It starts with a garter tab, and I really don't like garter tabs because I feel like they're fussy. And previously, I did not see a point for them. So I wouldn't do them. I'd cast on 3 stitches and then just increase until I have the number of stitches that they wanted. And then I was explaining to my husband why I didn't like them, and it's because they create like a garter ridge, like it's not invisible. But in explaining to him why I didn't like them, which is because they make vertical ridges across the top, I realized that the reason that you want those is so that it'll match the rest of the garter edging that's on the entire shawl. So yeah, I should have done that. I didn't. And I wasn't willing to rip it out, and I'm still not willing to rip it out. Now I will remind myself every time I wear it as to why we do a garter tab. So, anyways, here is what I have so far. So, okay, so this is what it looks like. So this is my color A. This is just a discontinued color of Cascade 220, which, as you guys already know, but for anyone new, I'm trying to work through all the Cascade 220 that's in my stash because this is like 7 years old and I haven't touched it in quite a few years. I haven't used it for much of anything. So I'm trying to get it all out of my stash, and I'm doing a pretty good job so far. But here it is. This is a discontinued blue, and it's nice and heathered, and I've got striping of my color B in there. And so far, I will not knock over my coffee. So far, I'm really, really liking it. It's very squishy with the garter stitch, and I can't wait for the next clue. So from this point on, we're sticking with color B, and I'm taking a bit of a risk because I'm using 3 colors for my color B, and my color A is going to remain that same blue throughout, but somewhere along the lines I'm going to transition from that white to this gray, which is also Cascade 220, and from there I'll transition into this nice charcoal. So this will be the end of my shawl, and I think it's going to look really pretty. I'm not sure how I'm going to transition those colors yet. This might end up badly, but I think if I don't like it, it won't. So far, this was really quick. So if I just set myself another KAL, like a personal KAL for myself, where each week I do one of the clues, then I should be able to knit it up again pretty quickly. So I'm not too worried. I'm going to have fun with this, and I'm loving it so far. The back still looks pretty interesting, but there's definitely a front and a back. It's so squishy. So if you've been thinking about it, definitely cast it on. So far it looks great. It's going to be a crescent shawl, and you can already see it starting to curve outwards. And that's not just my needles, that's what the knitting wants to do. next week I'll be able to show you guys again, because the pattern comes out on Saturdays, and I forgot about Labor Day this week, which is why I thought I was going to be recording yesterday. And then Tim's like, so we have people coming over. What are you up to? Maybe you shouldn't be recording today. I was like, oh yeah. But I should be able to finish each, depending on how much knitting there is. I should be able to, on Saturday and Sunday, knit the clue and then show you guys on Monday what it'll look like. And I'll make sure to put in a timestamp each time, so if you haven't finished your part of the clue, you can just skip ahead and then come back later to see what mine looks like if you want to, you know. But yeah, that's where I am so far. I'm very excited for Saturday. I really want the next part of the pattern. And this is my first mystery knit along. I'm really enjoying it so far. I feel like I'm a lot more motivated than I normally am about knitting. And I'm kind of chomping at the bit. Like, I want to keep going, but I can't because I've already finished the clue. So I'm kind of like debating as to whether or not I want to start another one, but I know I shouldn't because I'm putting too much on my plate. So we're going to stick to just the one for now. So that's all of the knitting that I've been up to. I have been quilting. So I had a quilt class. I had a quilt class on Saturday, so I missed my guild meeting, which was really sad, but when I signed up for my quilting class, I thought it was in August, not in September, and so I checked the date, and I was like, oh, it's on a Wednesday, that's perfect, and then I realized it was Saturday, so it was in September, which made it the first Saturday of the month. So I checked with Jessie, and she's our president, and she was okay with me not going to the guild meeting, so I kept the class. And I got to class, and I had been sick on Friday, and I woke up sick on Friday, and didn't go to game night, stayed home, wallowed in knitting, and actually it was a pretty nice day of just like wallowing in the darkness and knitting. But Saturday morning I woke up, and I felt like I had been hit by a truck. It was awful. And it was just Friday I woke up feeling like I had a bunch of crud in my chest. And then Thursday morning, I stayed in the hot shower until I was kind of all cleared out from the steam and everything. And by the time I got to my quilting class, I felt great. And I was ready to seize the sewing machine. So I had my sewing machine, I had all my stuff, and I had Tim at the ready, just in case I forgot something. But it went really well. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is, once I'm done with this, insert a separate video of me kind of showing you guys the fabric I chose, and this is what I made. It's supposed to be a wall hanging of a Christmas tree, or just a pine tree, you know, whatever you're into. But it's supposed to be a wall hanging of a Christmas tree. I don't have anywhere that I want to hang a wall hanging of a Christmas tree in my house. So I'm going to do some quilting over here. I'm going to create 2 more panels where it's just all the colors that I used for the tree, but testing out different types of blocks. I think I want to do a disappearing 9-patch pattern for most of it, where you take 9 squares and put them together, and then you cut it in the middle, vertically and horizontally, and then you can like twist and reshape those blocks wherever you want them. So I think I'm going to do something like that for the sides. This is my first quilt. It seems to be going well so far. We'll see how the whole thing goes, but I'm only 4 panels into this. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I'll show you in the video. So if I have that video, I'll insert it here. So here's our living room. We've got my dye rack with all my natural dyes down at the bottom. Just anything I'd need for dyeing is pretty much here. I've got my sock knitting machine. And come over here, we've got one of my spinning wheels. There's the one that Tim made me, with all of my current and upcoming spinning projects behind it. And then over here with our shoes, we've got another spinning wheel. My chest, that's the one that Tim made me, full of sewing supplies. I've got my loom and the warping board that I'm borrowing from my friends. And then make our way into the kitchen, and I've got my sewing corner. So yes, Tim is the most accommodating husband who has ever existed. Alright guys, so here is that video I told you about. We've got Tesla in the background eating his midday carrot, and got our Wrath of Khan t-shirt, so I think we're ready to go. So yeah, I'll give you guys a quick tour of the crafting area, and then I'll show you the quilt. So here's our living room. We've got my dye rack with all my natural dyes down at the bottom. Just anything I'd need for dyeing is pretty much here. I've got my sock knitting machine. And come over here, we've got one of my spinning wheels. There's the one that Tim made me, with all of my current and upcoming spinning projects behind it. And then over here with our shoes, we've got another spinning wheel. My chest, that's the one that Tim made me, full of sewing supplies. I've got my loom and the warping board that I'm borrowing from my friends. And then make our way into the kitchen, and I've got my sewing corner. So yes, Tim is the most accommodating husband who has ever existed. So here's the pattern. So far I've done 4 blocks of the quilt, and this is what it will look like eventually, except it won't have these little mini quilted ornaments on it. So of these parts, if I flip it over, this is the pattern that you're following. And so you stitch on each piece one at a time, and iron and trim, and then stitch on the next one. And you're actually sewing into the paper. And I think the reason, you can see here, this seam has to line up, but this is supposed to create a rectangle. And yeah, I'm I'm a little bit off, but I think what I'll be able to do is, once I finish and I get all of these sections sewn together, I'll go back in and fill in any areas that need it, or just trim away, and just have a slimmer central portion. So there you go. The main thing is that the tree itself lines up at those seam points. Alright guys, so there's part 5. So I'll start assembling these. You attach them in pairs first. So I I think this attaches to part 4, 2 and 3 attached together. And then once you have pairings attached, you can attach them all together. So as I move through, I'll start condensing them into their pairs, and then once they're all done, I'll attach them all into one big panel, and then start on the side panels. So yeah, that's my first quilt, or at least the progress I've made so far in my first quilt. It's going really well so far. I know I'm making mistakes, and so I'm going to start going to the Monday night, or the Monday sit and sews that they have at Twisted Sister, so that I can sew in the company of people who know what they're doing. And yeah, I'll show you guys as things go on, how the quilt's going, so you'll be able to see that progress. And maybe next week I'll be able to show you an assembled tree, or at least a partly assembled tree. So back to the normal podcast. Paper piecing was a whole lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to finish this quilt. I really want to have this, and it should be in time for me to put it out. I guess this will come at a good time, so I can put out my Christmas decorations a lot earlier than normal. Like, stealthily. Tim really thinks that I should wait until, like, after Thanksgiving, but I like to kind of sneak them in around the house. I save the ones that are, like, proper Christmas until after Thanksgiving. But I have a lot of, like, my winter decorations are mostly woodland. So, like, lots of plaid and sticks and pine cones and things. So I can, like, slowly start working those into the house. I'm definitely a Christmas person. I like Halloween. And I think the only reason I don't get more excited about Halloween is because we typically don't go to Halloween parties or dress up. And in our old neighborhoods, we never had trick-or-treaters, and we don't have any, I don't think we're going to have any here, so maybe I need to find a party this year. Work on a costume. I could be a hobbit. I probably got everything to do a hobbit. We'll see. But I think that's all we've got this week, so definitely head on over to the Ravelry group, join if you haven't. And check out the podcast group or the podcast thread where we're talking about all our favorite podcasts, and the Knitting in Public thread. So tell us your stories, kind of the fun things that have happened to you while knitting in public, or crafting, anything you're doing in public, spinning. Definitely put that there. And then, yeah, if you haven't already submitted for the final mileage thread, do that too. And I think we'll end it there. So if this is your first time watching, I hope you liked it. Thank you so much to everybody who comes back each week. I really appreciate you guys being here with me. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for stopping in, and happy making. Bye guys.